Hey, my friends, Danny White here. In this episode today, I am on the other side of the mic and I am sharing an interview I did with SwagHer Magazine. I talk about personal branding beyond social media and share some examples of where and how you can leverage relationship building to grow your own thought leadership through collaboration, networking, and other offline strategies. You can also check out my feature on their magazine at swagheronline.com and check them out and connect with them on Facebook. Before we get into that episode, though, I want to let you know that I've launched a weekly newsletter as a spinoff from this podcast. I will share one marketing growth tip and one personal growth tip directly to your inbox every Saturday morning to help you live, learn, love your life and business. You can sign up at hashtagsandhabits.beehive.com. The link is also below in the show notes. My book, ChatGPT for Content Marketing Success, as some of you know, is also available on Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. As artificial intelligence and machine learning and generative AI continue to progress, you will definitely want to get your copy to help you craft content and marketing strategies for your business both efficiently and effectively. I know you're not here for the ads, so that's all from me for now. Don't forget to rate, review, and share with your coworkers, your peers, your friends, and family. Let's now get into this episode.
Good morning. Well, yeah, it is morning because you're not in
It's morning. Yes, it's morning.
Good morning, Miss Danny White. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
I am good. All right, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, so this is SwagHer Magazine, and we're here with the lovely Miss Danny White first thing in the morning because you're not in Atlanta. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss White?
Yes, my name is Danny White. I own a digital marketing agency called DW Creative Consulting Agency here in Frisco, Texas, which is outside of Dallas. I've been in marketing for the last 12 years. Started out in B2B, moved a little bit into B2C, moved back to B2B, and just kind of doing all types of marketing. It's been a fun ride, and that's a little bit about me. I was born and partially raised in Atlanta, Athens, Georgia. Born in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
My family still, my mom's side of the family still lives near Atlanta. So I am actually coming there next week for a speaking engagement. So
Nice.
that's fun. I love going back and forth to Atlanta. So yes, I enjoy it. It's not the same, like we said, but
Atlanta has definitely changed throughout the years.
for
So
sure.
B2B is business to business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, B2B is business to business, and then B2C, business to consumer.
Business to consumer. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you next. What was the B2C mean? Okay, so can you discuss how personal branding extends beyond just social media presence?
Yes. So, what I've run into a lot with a few of my clients is they're trying to build their business brand, but they haven't really established a personal brand. Like people don't know who they are as a person. And so that's kind of how I've got into like the world of personal branding, and kind of doing that beyond social media, because social media is it's a messy place. If social media is a messy place, the algorithm is constantly changing and it frustrates people when they put out content and it doesn't get the replies or the likes or the shares that they want. And so what I've been doing over the last year is kind of guiding some of my clients into expanding their personal brand into more own media. So building an email list, which is a slower process, but a more beneficial process in the long term, right? Starting to take a deep dive into like their thought leadership. What are the opinions that you have, or strong opinions that you have about a particular topic or theme or something in your industry that is not right and that you would like to change? Those types of things, and creating thought leadership around that. Being able to share that thought leadership in different publications. It could be publications that you own and create, or publications that you don't own and that have higher SEO authority than a website that you just created, right? Those types of things. So building a personal brand outside of social media, because at the end of the day, we don't really own any of our social media channels. Like if Facebook chose to shut down tomorrow,
Right.
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, it will all be gone,
And
right?
you
And
know,
there will be
Instagram always glitches. It's the
it,
Instagram always shuts down. And I'm glad that you said newsletter, because whenever
yes.
it does shut down, I send out a newsletter to my folks.
Yes, exactly. You are doing it the right way, right? But I feel like because it's not a fast way to build a brand, people
Right.
kind of shy away from it. And so it's a slower process, but if you're really consistent at it, you can build a personal brand where people automatically recognize you for not just how you look or because they saw you on an Instagram page, but they recognize you for your thoughts. They recognize you for the things that they receive into their email box. Because email, if we really think about it, like email is really the only thing that you can have to stay in contact with a person.
Right.
Email or their phone number if they choose to give it up, right? But
If they choose
social
to
media,
keep it
if
up.
they choose to give it up, exactly. So it's just about going beyond social media,
Okay.
and finding ways to grow your audience, gain visibility, and if you're in business, like to gain more customers.
Okay. So what would you say are some effective offline strategies? Because the newsletter, that still kind of seems online. So what
Mhm.
would you say would be some effective strategies to build a personal brand offline?
Offline, so collaborating with peers in your industry. Um, Different ways that you can collaborate. You're going to meet them offline in most cases, right? Because you can do networking. You can
Mhm.
go to various networking events. You can join your, how do I say? You can join your local chamber of commerce. You can do certain things like that. Go to different trade shows or events, conferences, things like that, and meet people that are in your industry or industry adjacent to you, and then start creating connections and collaborating with them. I feel like that is the most beneficial way
Mhm.
to start growing your personal brand. So I'll give an example. So next week, I told you we're coming to Atlanta for a speaking engagement. It's a conference that I met. I met the lady at a Chamber of Commerce here in Dallas.
And
Um,
let me write
she's
that down.
Yes, so I met her through our local chamber of commerce,
Mhm.
and she's a business consultant, a clarity and vision coach for businesses.
Okay.
And I spoke at her conference last year. The conference is called Pen to Paper, and just from there, like we have been chatting, of course, with other entrepreneurs we've also met as part of the chamber. And she's created this tour that is now going to different cities and conducting business workshops for
Okay.
4 hours on a Saturday. And so now we're a part of that, right? So it's just the internal collaboration with people, of course, making sure that like your values align, like your personalities kind of aligned, like y'all are on the same page.
Right.
You don't want to just collaborate for the sake of collaboration.
Right.
But because of that collaboration, we are now going to different cities. We're now sharing our thought leadership in those cities for these business workshops. And so it's just a good way to, one, meet new people, and then two, grow your thought leadership and collaborate with other people. Because I always say collaboration over competition all day, every day.
I think it's so hard to find people to collaborate with, like especially if some people
It
think
is.
they're too good or too higher up. So do you have any advice for people that are trying to find people to collaborate with and it's just like not really working?
I'm gonna say that like I've struggled with that a lot, especially when I first like started building my business here in Dallas.
Okay.
Um, I think there are certain groups and certain subsets of people where you get into the group and it can be you can feel very less than,
Right.
right? Like you might not look the part, you might not dress the part, you might not have all the, bells and whistles or whatever, you might not drive the car, you might not live, they can start making you feel like you're less than they are. I would
Right.
say remove yourself from those groups entirely. Look
Okay.
for be discerning and look for the people that are aligned to the way that you think and your values. And I
Okay.
feel like it's not so much as looking for them as they will come to you. The more you show up and the more you are yourself, like you're not trying to be nobody else but yourself, I feel like those people will slowly start to align to you. Now, it's not going to be no whole lot of people, but it's not going to be no whole lot of people. But one by one, you will start to see the right people fall into the right spots in your business or in your life. And those are your people.
Okay.
That's really the best advice I can give because I haven't come up with a strategy yet around that. I don't have, I don't have no.
Okay. Well, that was good advice.
Yeah.
So some more advice. So what would you tell someone that is starting their personal brand just now? And like, you know, without them relying heavily on social media, because everybody thinks Instagram, Instagram, Instagram. But you know, there's way more out there than Instagram.
Yeah. I would tell them to start with their story and start with their like formulate an opinion around something. So let's say, I'll use myself as an example. So I've been marketing. I've been in marketing for forever, right? One of the strong opinions that I have is if you don't come to me and say that you want to run paid ads, if you have not done the work to build a brand first, because you're really just going to waste money on platforms and people who don't know you, right? They don't know you and they don't care to know you because you've not taken the time to build that up. So the first thing I would say is take a deep dive and develop your story. Like develop a story that you want to be known for. And then two, build out content. Like build out content, which is something that people do not want to do. Like it's the hardest thing for me to get clients to just be like one piece of content a week. That's it.
And that's not a lot.
It's not a lot. And the reason it's not a lot is because if you take that one piece of content, so this interview right here, I'm going to take this interview and I'm going to chop it up and it's going to be like 6 pieces of content for me.
Okay. So explain it to us. So where are you going to put it? Explain the 6 pieces. How you show us, tell us what you're going to do. Break it down.
So I'll take this interview as an example. So I'm going to create a story around this for my newsletter. This interview will be in the newsletter and I'm just going to create copy around it. Then I'm going to take that long form piece of copy. I'm going to create a newsletter, a different type of newsletter on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is more B2B focused and that's where a lot of my clients come from.
Okay.
So LinkedIn newsletter, I'm going to create content. Then I'm going to chop the video up. So like take 60-second clips. I'm going to put it on YouTube Shorts because YouTube Shorts is that 60-second, very like a quick synopsis or quick snapshot of like how people can get to know you, right? Just from like hearing 60 seconds of your voice or what you're talking about. And then I'm going to take that same interview and put it on my podcast with an introduction. I was on this live interview with Sydney. Take a listen to what we talked about. And then it's going to go into all of the podcast networks. So you're not creating different pieces of content. Right. You're just taking one core piece of content and repurposing it into different formats. And I think people feel like that's a lot of work, but it's not a lot of work. It's not a lot of work at all.
You know, I'm just writing notes. This is a you're doing great stuff here. Okay. Next question. Can you give an example of how you successfully leverage personal interactions to enhance your brand? Now, mind you, I know you talked about your the conference that you have coming up in Atlanta, but has there been any other times that this has happened that you just showed up and showed out and just made interactions just like that?
Most of it has been from personal networking and content creation.
Okay.
That's what I would say. So on LinkedIn, for example, I write a lot of content on LinkedIn. And I get a lot of feedback and a lot of DMs from that content. And sometimes those turn into clients. Sometimes those turn into referrals. Sometimes those turn into, I'm going to be in XYZ city. So last week I was in Los Angeles and I met with one of the people that I had met at a previous conference, right? And we went out for dinner. It's more about the relationship building than it is like a direct goal. Like, oh, I'm going to turn these 20 people into clients. It's not about that necessarily. It's more about the relationship building and seeing how we can be mutually beneficial to each other. That's just one way. Another way is, of course, like I said, the local chamber and going to specific networking events. So let me say one thing about networking.
Tell them.
I think I
Because,
think that there
ooh.
are serial networkers, and you have to be careful when you're going into these different spaces because not every networking event is for you. Not every networking event is something that you need to be a part of, right?
Right.
And I think that's why sometimes people get exhausted by networking because you're not going to the right. You're not going to the right ones. You just go into the ones you see on Eventbrite and then Facebook and all the groups that you're in and all them stuff. You have to be discerning about the networking events you go to, right? So that's one thing that I have learned over the years. You don't got to go to all these networking events. It's okay. You going your people gonna find you.
You can sit this one out. You don't have to go to that one.
You don't have to go to, no. So I do go to certain networking events. I do go to certain conferences, and I met a good number of people through these events and being part of the local chamber, being part of local groups that are mutually beneficial. That's where I've met a good number of people that have been either collaborative opportunities or clients or just people to talk about business with. Like sometimes that's what you need. You just need peer groups, right?
You just need some entrepreneurs to talk to you to let you know that you're doing right. You're on the right track. Okay,
yes, breathe. For sure. Yes, yes, absolutely.
And then lastly, how do you envision the evolution of personal branding for the next 5 to 10 years? And what role do you think non-digital platforms will play in this evolution? Because how social media is right now is not how it was 10 years ago. Even the icon for Instagram changed. So how do you think that everything will be in the next 5 to 10 years? Personal branding, social medias, things like that.
I honestly think that in the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of social media will be more decentralized. The algorithm will not be what it is today, and will be the people that are using artificial intelligence, machine learning to drive their data and to create content that resonates with specific targeted audiences. I feel like that's where like all of social media and like this whole digital world is like going.
We didn't even get into AI. How do you feel about AI?
I love AI in the base form.
Okay.
I think that in the base form, I love AI. I think that the advancements of AI, like you could over time, you probably will not call any business and talk to a real person.
No.
Everything will be driven by AI, human-based AI, avatars, people like those person. You won't be able to differentiate between a real person and an AI person. I think in 5 years, that's where we're heading.
That's where we're heading. Okay.
And so even let's talk about
robot operators in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. You said it.
Because let's talk about companies.
Said it first.
Let's talk about companies. So like all of these companies that have like these very large call centers where people are just on the phone taking support calls or tech calls or whatever. Those are going to be obsolete in the next 5 years. Because the thing is, we don't have to deal with a person not coming to work on a certain day because they're sick. Because we can go train an avatar that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, to be you for not just 8 hours a day, for 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. We can now be a 24-hour support center. Okay? So that is where I feel like business as a whole is going. Now, I feel like AI is just like a whole another conversation. And I have a book for marketers. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, put it in a little more. Yep. Okay. ChatGPT for content marketing success. Where can we get this book?
So it's on Amazon and all the places, Barnes and Noble, Apple. It's an ebook as well. But I wrote this book last year because when ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, like people were freaking out. A lot of my clients were also freaking out. Like, how do I use this? How do I do like prompt engineering. How do I like? Am I supposed to use this? Do I need to do like? It was just a lot of questions that were coming my way. So I'm like, I'm gonna put this in a book because this is what we know right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that people don't get is that you need to know how to talk to the machine.
For sure, you have to ask specific, very
Yes.
specific questions.
Yes, and that is called prompt. That's prompt engineering, right? And
Okay.
prompt engineering is a multi-six-figure job in a large corporation, just to sit and create prompts that will give you the right output from an AI driven platform, right?
Hmm.
And so people didn't know how to do that. Like they were freaking out because if they weren't getting the output that they were, like, let's say ChatGPT, they weren't getting the output that they wanted. I'm like, you're not inputting the right information.
And
That's how.
listen, I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm like, I need a newsletter and a title for this, and it's like, I don't know how to do that. Or
Exactly. Yeah. So even that, like, it has advanced for in the last 18 months, right? Like, I think now almost ChatGPT 5 is about to come out, right?
Mhm.
So I am all for AI and technology. My background was in marketing and technology. So, like, that I'm all for anything that is going to be efficient.
Okay.
And I think that people who choose to learn these technologies are the ones that are not going to be left behind. I think if you're
Seriously.
afraid of it, if you are like, oh my God, it's going to take my job, it's it's going to put me out of business. If you're like taking that mentality, that it's very much fear-based mentality, you're probably going to be
That's
left behind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you can't be negative. You got to embrace the new.
Yeah. You have to embrace the new, learn it. It's not going anywhere. So, yeah.
So, Miss White, that concludes our interview. Can you tell everybody where they can find you, social media, Amazon, YouTube, things like that? Because I'm for sure going to sign up for your newsletter.
Yes, I appreciate that. So you can listen to my podcast. It's called hashtagsandhabits.com. That's the podcast website. All of my links are there. All of my social media links are there. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. They're all at that podcast name. My personal Instagram and Facebook is Danni White, like kind of like it's spelled with an M in front of it. That's my first name.
Yeah.
And podcast newsletters also there. It's hashtagsandhabits.beehive.com. Everyone can subscribe there, and I'm happy to share like my thoughts with you.
Thank you so much, Miss White. I really appreciated your time today. This was a great interview. I feel like I learned a lot. People in the comments, y'all should have learned a lot too.
Thank you. This was really fun. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. Hold on. Don't hang up just yet.
Okay.